Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Yankees Avenue live stream. Hope everybody is doing well on this Saturday night, the 21st of December. Christmas is fast approaching, folks. And yo, you guys know the deal. Saturday night, we typically kick it a little bit more than we do on our regular streams, although, honestly, we're always chilling on every stream we do. Pleasure to see you guys. Hope everybody's having a good day, like I said. And yeah, we got a bunch to get into tonight. Obviously, this is what would you call it, an impromptu stream. Typically, we go on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, which I think we probably won't this Tuesday, barring, any more news that breaks, which it very well could, so maybe not. But obviously, Tuesday's Christmas Eve. But we'll see. For now, we are here tonight because there's a lot to discuss. We have the Yankees signing Paul Goldschmidt. We have the trade from last night with Cincinnati, which I'm ecstatic about everything we got to talk about today, but I can't wait till we get to that segment because Fernando Cruz, the guy they got for Jose Trevino, sorry, I had a hair stabbing my eye. We'll get to him, but a lot to cover. And before we do that, really quick, just want to remind you guys, first things first, to drop a like on the stream if you do not mind. And also, by the way, I realized I forgot to announce the giveaway winner for last week's stream, or the week before that stream. We'll get to that in halfway through the show. And then, of course, at the very end, we'll get to the chat and take all your guys' comments, questions, and everything about how you're feeling about these deals. And I'll tell you right now, going into it, I shouldn't say the minority, but I think I probably, entering this signing, would be on the opposite end of how most people feel about it. I think some have, kind of shifted towards the optimistic side of things regarding it, but we'll get into it. Last thing before we do so, follow Yankees Ave on Instagram and Facebook. All the up-to-the-minute news, that's where I post it first. So usually how it goes, news breaks, post it on there, Instagram and Facebook, and then we come up here on YouTube at night to talk about it further in depth in a live stream, which is what we're doing now. So with all that out of the way, let's get into it, starting with the biggest news of the day, and that is, of course, the Yankees signed Paul Goldschmidt to a one-year, $12.5 million deal. Now, there was a lot of smoke about this over the last few days. You kind of felt like it was a matter of when, not if. And today was when. 1 year, $12.5 million. A few days ago, I would have been pretty disappointed in this, at least about a week ago, because you guys know, and I had some people asking about this in my DMs on Yankees Avenue, and I mentioned that I'm happy about this deal. What happened? You're all for signing Christian Walker, which I absolutely was, no doubt about it. And, Pete Alonso was an interesting name. I didn't think that was ever going to happen, but I certainly was interested in Christian Walker. The first thing about this deal that I'm all about is the $12.5 million. What this now allows the Yankees to do, and basically guarantees, is that they will go out and get a second baseman externally. I would say there's 0 chance, 2% chance that now we're definitely not looking at opening day DJ starting or Oswald Peraza starting, or love him, God bless him, Oswaldo Cabrera. He won't be starting opening day. The Yankees have another move in the bank that it looks like they're going to go out and do following this one, which is to get a second baseman. So for the money, $12.5 million, that is, for what his market is, even at age 37, and yes, he's 37 years old, we'll get into the regression side of things in just a moment, this is a good deal. And it's a straight one-year deal. No opt-outs, Jesus Christ, no options, no vesting options, nothing funky about it. A straight one-year contract, $12.5 million. So the price, word. We got the cheapest option possible at first base, which, not possible, but of the main candidates, it was really him and Carlos Santana, who just signed back with the Guardians on a similar deal, 1 year, $12 million. Now, that doesn't sound great, and that's why some people are pissed off. They feel like the Yankees are bargain bin shopping. And I won't defend this by saying, there's no such thing as a bad one-year deal, because of course there is, yo. If you sign somebody to a one-year deal at a position you can't afford to risk not getting production out of, that's reasonable, cause for concern, which I think is why most people, if you're against this deal, that's how they're feeling going to this stream, and maybe still will feel, but I'll try to persuade you otherwise. There's not a lot of risk with this deal, and the reason for that being, we'll start with the overall stats. Obviously, don't get it twisted, Paul Goldschmidt has regressed. 716 OPS that trended down from where he was in 2023. Then, of course, that continually trended down from 2022 when he won the MVP. You see those stats. This isn't my argument at all, but for what it's worth, that 716 OPS clears what Anthony Rizzo was this past year and any production Yankees got at first base by quite a landslide. But forget what he was the entire season. Let's take a look at his second half stats, which you notice the OPS jumps up to 799, and the WRC plus, where first half or overall in the year was just league average 100. You take just the second half, the most recent version of Paul Goldschmidt we saw, he was at a 120 WRC plus. So people talk about the classic diss on the Yankees is, oh, this would be nice if it were 2019 or 2022. As far as I'm concerned, the most recent version of Paul Goldschmidt that we saw was a first baseman we would be damn glad to get in 2025, which is pretty much for easy math and part narrative. I'll bump it up a point. An 800 OPS first baseman. So that right there, word. And in September, was it either his final 25 games or final 30 games, he batted .330. I think it was his final 25 games. So he finished the year hot. And that aside, we don't have to butter knife this part of it. He also raked against lefties entirely, and there's no caveat needed to explain this point. This is just the entire season versus lefties, 839 OPS, hit .295. So even if you want to argue Paul Goldschmidt is no longer Paul Goldschmidt, which again, he's not the MVP, we don't need that. But any argument against regression aside, what is current and present and true is that Paul Goldschmidt still rakes against lefties, which sets up a very nice and easy platoon if they want to go this route, which I like to think they do, because I'm a big fan of the guy, for Ben Rice to play against not righties strictly. And I'll tell you right now, Goldschmidt is the starting first baseman, but this does set up a very easy lane for Goldschmidt to, whether it's to begin the year, which it won't be, but even down the line, for Rice to still get a lot of playing time at first base against right-handers, and then Goldschmidt will definitely almost strictly be playing against lefties for sure. But this is the way to go. And really quick, I do want to mention, I always have to, Rice can hit lefties. He raked against lefties in the minor leagues. But I have less of a problem with it, when it's Paul Goldschmidt hitting against the lefties instead of DJ LeMahieu. That was more so my gripe last year, is that, they weren't playing Rice against lefties so they could play DJ LeMahieu at first in a little platoon. That was stupid. But Ben Rice, we'll talk about him more so later on. Paul Goldschmidt is the Yankees' starting first baseman, and he's coming off a good second half. He finished the year strong in September. He rakes against lefties. And now we'll get into this point, which is a little cliff note point. It's not the reason to be excited over Paul Goldschmidt. Besides, the reasons I just mentioned are why you get excited, in my opinion. But this ain't me being a homer, and we can take the Yankees out of it. I'm not going to act like anybody puts on the pinstripes and all of a sudden it puts them back into their prime. But let's just talk about going from a miserable St. Louis team where they were out of it. It felt like, if I remember correctly, mostly the entire year. Got hot at points, but whatever it was, they've been a pretty dreary team for a couple years now. And at his age, man, when you haven't won a World Series, you're out of a pennant race by what felt like June. I mean, it's pretty easy to understand that maybe he wasn't, I don't want to say motivated, because that's kind of insulting. It's not what I mean. But you get put onto a contender after being on a pretty depressing situation when it comes to baseball, where he was at in St. Louis last year. It's not hard to imagine that he could be rejuvenated a little bit. And then you mentioned the pinstripes, which I will go there. I mean, it's not even just guys from the 90s like Darryl Strawberry, I've seen it myself. I watched Ichiro Suzuki go from being a 260 hitter in 2012, and it looked like his career was over, to he gets traded to the Yankees, put in a pennant race, and all of a sudden he's batting .320, and he's the Ichiro Suzuki I always heard of growing up. So it's not far-fetched at all to, again, put the Yankees to the side. This isn't me just being a homer. Going from St. Louis, or any team, it's not a diss on St. Louis, but right now, for what the current situation was, it is. From that to this, a pennant race, a team that almost definitely should be in the World Series, knock on wood. Between that, the second half stats, also the peripheral numbers are terrific on him. Terrific as in promising. I mean, he was 92nd in hard hit rate in 2024, so he's still hitting the ball really, really hard. Everything I just mentioned, and then you throw a little cherry on top that, you're throwing him in a pennant race, chasing for a World Series. And sure, wearing Yankee pinstripes. For me, it's easy to get excited about this signing. And I have been, kind of on board for a few days now. And I felt like it was going to happen. So maybe it was also like getting used to it. But I've had a blast getting used to it. I'm excited for Paul Goldschmidt. I like this signing. And I think dude, this is a good pickup from Cashman, because another positive through this whole thing is that outside of Fried, which was a good deal, so I have no problem with this, there's no long-term commitments here. I mean, Bellinger is assuming, he takes his player option for 2026, which he will, unless he goes off, which he very well could, so maybe. But that's through 2026, 2 years. Goldschmidt is 1 year. Devin Williams, although, for him, you'd like to see him get extended, but that's for 1 year. There's no big money being laid out this offseason, again, besides Max Fried, which is a deal I fully support. So it's like we're going for it in the Judge window, spreading all the Soto money out, but we're also not doing anything stupid. It's not you lose out in Cano, quote-unquote lose out, because I agree with Michael Kay says it a lot. I don't think the Yankees really wanted Cano all that bad, but we know how they reacted when they didn't re-sign him, which was sign Ellsbury, McCann, Beltran, Tanaka, which Tanaka was good, but Cashman is, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but there is a word I'm looking for. He's spreading this money smartly, man. And everything about this offseason has been, so far at least, terrific. Why is my camera off? There we go. Which, of course, here's what we're looking at so far. Fried, Williams, Bellinger, Fernando Cruz, which we're going to get to in just a second, Goldschmidt, and then the return of Jonathan Loáisiga, which Loáisiga was announced as official today. Finally. If anybody sees the money and the terms on that, let me know. But, mentioned it on the stream last week. I said, currently, and this was right after Bellinger and before Cruz and Goldschmidt, I said, we're pacing for an A offseason. Right now, it's a C+, because there's more to do, but we're pacing for an A. We are on that track still. We are pacing for an A. Now, all that's left is, I don't say all that's left, but the most obvious next move, which at the very least this will happen, they're going to go out and get a second baseman. Or maybe Nolan Arenado is still a possibility, which we'll talk about that at the very end. That's kind of a side note. And by the way, for those who may be new around here, I get to the chat at the very end. So for anybody who's asking questions or any super chats or anything, I will get to that. I'm not ignoring you, trust me. How you doing, chat? Pleasure to see you guys. And drop a like on the stream if you don't mind. So, yeah, as for Paul Goldschmidt, I am all for this deal. All for it. The money's great. The second half success, the peripherals, the fact that, in general, he just rakes against lefties. This doesn't, stash Ben Rice in the minors forever. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, we can kind of start to write out a lineup a little bit, which, if we want to take a look at that, we can do so now. That's what we'll get to in a moment. I don't know why my camera keeps going off here. Sorry. Now, this is probably what I would do, but it's still incomplete because I wouldn't lead off Jason, and more likely the Yankees would lead off Volpe. But the roster spots are getting filled out now, man. Like, you look at the positional chart, all that's left is second base. All that's left is second base. So I think we spent enough time on Goldschmidt now. Should probably get into the Fernando Cruz. But with that all said, let me know what you guys think, obviously, in the chat, and then for those who are watching later, in the comment section down below. But let's get into now the trade that happened on Friday night, which was fucking awesome, chat. I was pumped. Little late night news. Friday night, right? Yeah. Late night news, bro. Like, I was kind of looking for something to do. I was watching Forensic Files, but honestly, I've seen like every episode to ever exist, so I was looking for something else. And here we got Yankees trade Jose Trevino to the Reds for right-handed pitcher Fernando Cruz. Now, we also got catcher, was it Alex Jackson in the deal as well? We'll get into that part. That's more the, minor side of the deal. The main thing is that they got Fernando Cruz. And, of course, traded away Jose Trevino, which, really quick, let's give a shout-out to him. He put out this message, and, I was ready to move on from the guy like that. I made that pretty clear. But there's no doubt, and these days you appreciate it. He enjoyed being a Yankee, and he appreciated being a Yankee. And you think back to, or at least I immediately did, of this clip of his first walk-off as a Yankee back in 2022. And a lot of you guys will remember he was like shooting up to the heavens saying, I think it's like, "We made it, Poppy," or something. He's talking to his dad because they had a story when they were younger growing up, playing in the backyard, that he would hit a walk-off for the Yankees or something like that. And then he eventually did. And it was a really cool thing. A lot of you guys would remember it. But just shout out Trevino. He's going to Cincinnati now. I was personally ready to move on because at this point, with and no matter how good he is defensively with the glove and pitch receiver, calling a game, all that, with the arm and the way the league was starting to notice it, he was borderline becoming a liability. And the fact he was making over $3 million, which is now off the payroll, so he saved money in this deal as well. W by Brian Cashman, but also shout out Jose Trevino. You're a good Yankee. You're a good Yankee. But let's get into the deal. Let's talk about Fernando Cruz, who we'll address the elephant in the room first thing. The 4.86 ERA. Who gives a shit? Now, what I mean by that is, one, reliever ERA, for the most part, you can often toss it out the window. And I'm not going to get too big into the FIP thing, because I have my gripes with FIP myself. Regardless of that, even if you want to go off the 4.86 ERA, you got to give the Yankees always the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the bullpen and their ability to turn nothing into something. I always talk about that, and we can go into what their bullpen currently looks like right now. A few of these guys, Jake Cousins, Ian Hamilton, just two names right there that are in the current bullpen that were pretty much no names until they put on the pinstripes. But it doesn't even feel necessary saying that with Cruz, because he's not nothing. He's a guy that struck out 109 batters in 66 and two-third innings. And the pitch you're seeing right here is his splitter, which, upon doing research and hearing everybody talk about him, it's referred to as possibly, and to some definitively, the best pitch in baseball, his splitter. You see the 109 Ks, and I assumed he threw gas or something. He throws 94. So the way he's able to get all these Ks is via that splitter. And in general, I guess he's pretty nasty. Obviously, I don't know the dude's whole Wikipedia or nothing. But this was a phenomenal trade by Brian Cashman. You saved money because Cruz is only making a little over league minimum, I think $800K. And the catcher they got, I think, is making under $1 million. So you shed a couple million in salary, which in this economy is important. And this guy's under control for 4 years. Now, I know he's 34, so is there a very likely world where, in his age 38 and 39 season, the Yankees don't really want the guy anymore? Maybe. But it's also not a guarantee because, again, it's not like he's throwing 94 and you expect that velocity to diminish as soon as this year. No, it's his splitter. It's his splitter is what makes him so incredible. And, yeah, so for those who on, the more old-fashioned side of things, and you see the ERA and you automatically assume it's a bad deal, look at that K per nine. Even the God bless them, older generation, I respect you to a great deal. I know even you gotta respect that 14.72 K per nine. That is just ridiculous. So it doesn't even feel right to me to be like, yo, you give him and put him in the hands of Matt Blake, and there you go, another project turned success for the Yankees, which is true. He has to work on his command. He walks a lot of guys. But calling him a project feels insulting. The dude struck out 100, and I don't need to repeat it again. It's insane. He's under control for 4 seasons. You gave up Jose Trevino, saved money on that. Just, not be on a glaze session or nothing with Brian Cashman, but why not? I've been on a hate session with him for 5-6 years on this channel. For the most part, I have my show moments, but all I can say is he's cooking this offseason, man. He's cooking this offseason. This was another example of that. Fernando Cruz, welcome to the Yankees show. Another look at the bullpen, still without a lefty, which I'm sure they'll address that. I wouldn't be shocked still, if Tim Hill comes back, which he should only get a few mil per year, maybe a couple mil, we'll see. But even the salary relief you got in trading Trevino could be the contract Tim Hill gets, because it was, you saved a couple mil, and he can go spend that on him. 10 out of 10, again. And the catcher, we'll talk about that probably more in the chat. He's a, career 130 hitter that's good defensively. I'm not too worried about the backup catcher role. I'm sure Jackson will compete for it. Someone mentioned, it's a shame they traded Carlos Narvaez to the Red Sox, which, for those who don't know, by the way, Narvaez was on the 40-man roster. He was a catcher in the farm system, not a crazy ranked prospect, but he was legit. He was respected among scouts. I would feel the same way as that. Why would you trade Narvaez then? But we actually got a pretty fucking good prospect from the Red Sox, a starting pitching prospect, which we don't got to get into here. It's very, minute stuff, but I actually, because of the return we got from Boston, I'm cool with that. So backup catcher, we'll see what the deal is come spring training, but again, I'm not really worried about that to begin with. Speaking of the budget, let's get into that really quick. We won't spend as much time as we always do, because I know, very into this shit, which can sometimes be boring. I know a lot of you guys like to know what it is. It's just all we're going to cover here. Currently, now this is a rough estimate, give or take a few million. This is going off Fangraphs. Some sites will say current payroll is 296 or give or take $1 million, whatever it is. This is roughly where we're at, which doesn't leave us much room, but same as last time, same as ever since the pitching market became what it is. I still am assuming Marcus Stroman gets traded. I'm assuming his entire $18 million salary gets traded, which, if so, will be $21 million left to spend this offseason for the Yankees. And they don't even need that. They really, really don't, because I assume they're going to get a second baseman via the trade deadline. Here we go. Via the trade market, which I'm still big on Brandon Lau. Really, really big. Let me pull him up really quick. Where you at, Brandon Lau? He's making, if I remember correctly, right around 10 mil. So, I mean, in this case, if you trade Stroman, you'll have more than enough. You'll have more than enough for really anybody, as long as they trade Stroman. But I see the lineup, and I insert Brandon Lau after Stanton batting in the 5-hole, and I'm thinking 40 home runs. I mean, that 21 homers he hit in 107 games, that was the point. My inflection in my words were off there. I was supposed to say the 21 home runs he hit were in 107 games, which is incredible. And he's a lefty bat in Yankee Stadium. I mean, 40 homers might be a stretch, but at the very least, it'd be a 121 WRC plus bat from the left side. Strikes out a lot, but to me, that's the missing piece. We won't spend too much. I don't want to spend a lot of time on specific guys because, we could go a totally different route. But regardless, whether it's Brandon Lau or somebody else, second base will come via trade. And again, I think Stroman ends up getting dealt, which, speaking of, we can get into this now. Came out yesterday that the Cardinals, from earlier in the offseason, I don't know how long ago, but this isn't like a current thing. This is from previously. They rejected a deal where the Yankees were going to take on all Arenado's salary, but they would take Marcus Stroman in return, which is something that we brought up on here. To me, that was like, granted, this was before Soto signed with the Mets. So I was really only on board with Arenado as like if we brought Soto back, and it was a different world then. But the idea we mentioned was take on all of his salary and give him Stroman in return. I guess that's not going to happen because the Cardinals already rejected it. With that said, I wonder what the actual deal was. Was it just a thing like, all right, we take Arenado, you take Stroman, see you later? Because if that's what the Yankees offered, then, I could imagine why the Cardinals said no. So with that in mind, is there something to be worked out here? Because I'll tell you, man, Arenado, while, again, it was more of a pre-Soto signing with the Mets thing that I was discussing him. Let me pull up his page really quick, and then I'll make my point. I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't be excited if I found out the Yankees acquired him. And if they trade Stroman, whether to the Cardinals or not, you could break it down to what the Yankees would wanted to do in this deal was shed Stroman's salary, and then they'd be willing to take on Arenado. I mean, you could obviously shed Stroman's salary elsewhere and still take him on. He's owed... Chat, sorry, I should have had this ready, my bad. If anybody has the exact contract terms on Arenado, if you could just throw it in the chat really quick. I'm going to take a look on my end too, but just so we're all on the same page. I know he's making over 20 a year. So luxury tax-wise, Jesus Christ. He's making 25 mil a year on the luxury tax. So going back to the budget, actually, we would need to trade Stroman and then some. Because if we do trade him, it's 21 mil left over. So we would need Stroman to be traded and the Cardinals to eat some money. But that aside, Nolan Arenado, the player, where are we at here? Where are we at? Sorry, I didn't put him on my stream deck, so I got to click it. If I found out the Yankees got Nolan Arenado, I would be pumped. Now he's regressed, 102 WRC plus, but I ain't going to be a hypocrite if I can get excited about 37-year-old Paul Goldschmidt, which has total valid reason behind it. But I'd be able to get myself excited over Nolan Arenado, especially because the defense is still really good at third base. You see the 102 WRC plus, which is exactly what Goldschmidt had in his regress season. The WAR though is still above 3 because of how good the defense is. And for him, without looking at too much of the peripherals and deep dive metrics, I'd have to see what his hard hit rate and all of that is. But you can apply the surface level point of put him in a pennant race, Yankee pinstripes. I can't imagine him getting worse. And at the very least, he's a league average bat, good defense, and he's only 33 years old. And I say only in comparison to Goldschmidt. So I would be for this. I'm just going to be honest. Even right now, I'm not thrilled about the idea. But if I got the notification that we got him, word, I'll write out that lineup right now. With that said, my actual opinion, if I was the one in charge, is no. Mainly because, we need a leadoff hitter still. I mean, Bellinger I have slotted in at leadoff, but until we get Brandon Lau, it's hard to really write up the lineup and put him at leadoff because of how many right-handed bats we have. And that's my next point. Nolan Arenado's a righty. We need a lefty. Let's go back to what the lineup looks like at this current moment, which Jason's not going to end up leading off. If this were a prediction, Volpe would end up leading off, but this is without a second baseman, so it doesn't matter. if we were to get, again, Brandon Lau or any sort of second baseman that has, where are we at here? A left-handed bat. But Lau to me makes so much sense because the power from the left side. This is what I would like to see come opening day. I think this is my ideal lineup, 1 through 9. And we're going to get to the chat in just a minute. We're almost done here. But I can guess what some are saying and have already been saying about this lineup, and whether you're looking at this one I'm predicting, or hoping for rather, or what it currently is at this moment. They're going to compare it to the one with Soto and mention how the offense isn't as good, which, I mean, real quick, if they were to get Brandon Lau, I would love to have that argument because I think I would win about the lineup with this compared to what it was to end Game 5. However, let's throw that out for a second. Let's just assume the lineup is worse. Word. It's a different team. The team is structured differently. Like, this is a totally new way to go about things. But we're a pitching-focused team right now. And I'm going to get hyped up talking about this because the lineup really isn't that bad, and it's going to be good. But let's just assume it was bad. Let's say the lineup is, for argument's sake, not great, or not good, or it's not going to be good come opening day. Okay, we're doing things a little bit differently. Instead, we have the best starting rotation in the American League. Instead, we have the best bullpen in all of baseball. And with that said, the lineup actually is most likely going to be really, really good. Even this isn't awful, depending on what Jason is, but it's pointless to even take a look at this, to be honest. We don't know if the Yankees will get Brandon Lau, but that's my number one candidate. Let's just say they do again. I jokingly said, for argument's sake, let's pretend the lineup is bad. Oh, okay, or not great. We had the best rotation in baseball and the best rotation in the league, best bullpen in all of baseball. But then I show the lineup and it's like, oh, the lineup actually should be pretty good too. So chat, what I'm getting at here is I'm fucking thrilled. I'm thrilled about everything. The Goldschmidt signing, getting Fernando Cruz, every move we've made so far this offseason. And now I could feel even better talking about it because we're almost there. We're almost done. It's not like, all right, we get Fried and we get Devin Williams. It's like we're pacing well. And after Bellinger, like I said last week, like we're pacing for an A, but as of right now, we're technically at a C+. Right now, we're pacing for an A. We're at a B. Get a second baseman, dude. And, re-sign Tim Hill. But all in all, point is, I'm fucking thrilled, chat. And I think I can already confidently say this is my favorite offseason of my fandom as a Yankee, which started back in 2011, as many of you know. And I'm fucking pumped for 2025, dude. I am ecstatic. So with that in mind, let's turn it over to the chat, yo. I'm sure we'll do a lot of Paul Goldschmidt talk and just anything on your guys' mind. So let me actually pull up YouTube. That'll be a good start, right? Also, now he's not a direct opposite field guy as far as I'm aware, but you watch a lot of Goldschmidt's home runs from this past year. I mean, and the metrics support this. If he would have played every game in Yankee Stadium last year, he would have gained an extra 3 home runs. But you see some of these home runs. I mean, he goes to the opposite field relatively frequently, enough to get excited about it. And he can also fucking pull a ball and fucking rope it too. But let's where are we at here? Let's pull the chat. How the hell are we doing, yo? Hope everybody's having a good-ass fucking Saturday night. We got over 800 people in here. That's what I'm fucking talking about. First thing I see is Jazz lead off. That, I'm okay. But I'm very excited for what Jazz is going to be this year. I just hope it's in the 6 hole. Really, really hope it's in the 6 hole. But first things first, let me get to the chat and the super chats first. Things first. We got Ray Danger, my man. Appreciate you. Said, what are the odds Yanks trade for Arenado? The odds. Well, I'll give like a percentage here. I would say low, like 10 to 15%. Again, I don't think it's the right move because he's right-handed. We need to get a lefty bat, and the money as of right now isn't matching up because we know they didn't want Stroman back, and Arenado is making a lot. It's not egregious. I mean, 25 for what you hope is a bounce-back guy that already had a 3 WAR in his bad year last year is not awful, but I don't see it, but it definitely is a possibility. So it's like there's a reason I have a player graphic made for it and like the highlights going. It has my attention. I wouldn't predict it as likely though. No. Caleb sends in a $5 super chat. Appreciate you, bro. Says Merry Christmas, Dan. Merry Christmas to you too, Caleb, and you guys as well. Merry freaking Christmas. I love you all. Thanks for another great year. Appreciate you, bro. Have we heard anything about coaching staff changes? Luis Rojas specifically, LOL. Nah, we have not heard anything about coaching changes besides we lost a dude to the Mets. What was it? Like assistant pitching coach. And then we hired the Mariners hitting coach, which I can't really speak on that stuff. Like I don't know anything about why the Yankees hired him or like his hitting philosophies per se. I would be, just having a take to have a take if I commented on that. As for Luis Rojas, no, there's nothing about him being moved off third base or to me, because I don't have too much of an issue actually, as much as other people do with his sends at third. He's also the infield coach. That would be actually, reasonably smart to make a switch there because, there were some issues. But no, not as of now. William, how we doing, man? Sends in a $10 super chat. Says, Merry Christmas, Dan. Merry Christmas to you too, bro. You're the man. William's always supporting. And then we're going to get to the giveaway after this, by the way. I've loved your channel and everything you've given us this year. Which position would you go for between second and third base, and who would you target for that position? Yeah, for me, I go for second base. Many of you guys know, but if you don't, I am much higher on Jazz's defensive ability at third than a lot of other people are. I mean, first things first, he was +6, outs above average. So if you like metrics, you have that going for you. And I always talk about this, but the skills are there. I mean, he's very talented. The arm strength is there. A lot of his stuff was more so, minute little fundamentals that come with learning third base over the long haul, which now he is doing. He's already posting like every day on Instagram how he's working, taking hacks in the cage, fielding at third. He was cut off stuff. It was proper alignment at third when, picking a ball or making a tag. That stuff he'll learn over time. He was thrown in the position. I don't have any. Now, if you get a third base, like if you were to get Nolan Arenado, then yes, you no doubt move Jazz to second base. But you don't get Nolan Arenado just because you want to do that. Like, I don't think the Yankees should stress about him at third all that much, really at all. But with that said, if they get a third baseman, then of course, you would put Jazz at second. My ideal candidate, though, we've discussed him at length, but Brandon Lau. Make a deal with the Rays, and some are questioning would the Yankees and Rays make a deal. I don't really have much concern about that at all. It's just a matter of what would they have to give up, which would be something, relatively significant. Now, we mentioned Spencer Jones in a deal for both Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lau last week. That's now off the table because we don't need a first baseman, so it would just be for Brandon Lau. It would cost, though. It would cost. It'd be, honestly, depending on what the market is, like I would consider giving up Roderick Arias for him, the international guy we signed a few years ago who's a big-time shortstop prospect or something along those lines. It would hurt, but for me, Brandon Lau is definitely the move because then you can go with this lineup right here, which I think would be fucking terrific. Terrific, Chad. Terrific. But let's see. Appreciate you, William. Sends in another one. And regardless of who we signed, do you think Roki Sasaki is necessary? Necessary? No, I don't think he's necessary. And we're going to talk about him a lot as it gets closer to January 15th, which is, I guess, the date he has to sign by, or roughly. But the Yankees met with him, and it's not impossible that they get him, is what it seems. So I have some hopes up for Roki Sasaki. He's not a necessity, though. No. But it would be awesome. It would be awesome. Steven says, next season will be on fire. Yo, I can't wait for next season. I cannot wait for next season. Why is my picture not showing up on the Goldschmidt? Oh, there we go. Let's see here. Wouldn't call Goldschmidt a great move, but the rest has been decent. If you feel the way about the move that I feel, Joe, it's great. It's great. Coinciding with everything else they've done this offseason. I'm on board with, and you guys know I'm not a Cashman D rider. Now, when I have the chance to, I guess I will be, so I walk that back a little bit. But I'll tell you this, like, this is not a common occurrence for me to saying, like, trust Cashman or let Cashman cook, all this and that. I'm in the best place I've ever been with our GM right now, and it's because of how strongly I feel about this offseason so far. We got to get a second baseman, but I'm almost positive we will. Am I the only one who wants Ha-Sung Kim on a one-year deal? Yeah, Poof mentioned that last week. At this point, I'd say definitely not because another right-handed bat. And, the lineup, while as good as our pitching is, and again, like, without that pitching and, like, this lineup right now, like, we would still get to the World Series. But, I still have the low one up. This is the current lineup. Maybe flip Volpe and Jason. But we need a left-handed power bat, which is what Brandon Lau is. There's some other options, I'm sure, as well. But with Kim being a righty and not nothing crazy in offense. I think I'm good off that, but people have definitely mentioned it. What's Lau's defense like? It's not great, Carlos. It's definitely not great. Now, if you go to this past year, I believe his DRS and Luke Weaver. What am I doing? His out-to-play average and DRS were, I think, both 0, which to me, reading that is a good thing. Like if you're average, especially with how I feel about him offensively, word. You go to the past years and it's just overall career defensive metrics at second base. He's played first. He's played like all over. He would grade as a negative second baseman. But as long as you know how to play the position, bro, and you're not like an idiot, which you might be, I don't know. But as long as you know how to play the position, like you're not going to, it's one thing if your range isn't great and maybe you'll miss a few balls here and there. I mean, again, I have him hitting 40 home runs as a Yankee, so I think it'll be just fine. But like, it's kind of how I talk about with Jason. Like, I can't assume Jason doesn't know how to play the outfield just because he can't catch a ball. Like, does he know how to play baseball? Yes. He'll be able to catch a ball. That was just like the yips or a blip on the radar or whatever it was. As long as Brendan Lau's a competent second baseman and knows how to play the position, we're chilling. If he's missing balls, that's one thing, or doesn't know like turn a double play, which would be ridiculous. I can't imagine that's the case. That's one thing. But I think it'll be all right. Do you think we'll get Bregman? No, I don't. Again, the right-handed bat thing, and also money-wise, like I think it's not a coincidence the Yankees haven't committed. Besides, again, Fried, which I'm all for, and that was the right move. There's no long-term moves here, and I don't think that's by like accident. So no, I don't think so. What happened to Birdie? He was non-tethered move missed. Ooh, a little burp, getting choked up over Jonathan Birdie. Donovan's a perfect fit. He can get 20 homers here too. Ooh, Donovan. I always like Donovan. We talked about him a little bit last year too, but he's a lefty, right? Then look up Andrew Nardi, Savon. I want Cash to try and trade for him as our left-handed reliever. He's nice. Andrew Nardi, left-handed. Okay, I'll look into it on my own time. I mean, I'm not too worried about the left-handed reliever, to be honest. But Anthony Nardi, I'll take a look. Rumors say we could also get Profar from the Padres. Well, Profar's a free agent. I mean, Profar could play second, actually, if that's what you're saying. Because, outfield is taken up now, and I wouldn't want Profar in the outfield anyways. He's awful. But when he was like a big-time prospect, and he played there a lot in the big leagues, but he was just an infielder. He was an infielder coming up. For those who remember, like back in the day, Jurickson Profar was like the shit on prospect lists for like 2-3 years in a row, always number one. And he was an infielder coming up. So I was going to dismiss that. But, as a second baseman, maybe. Again, what I said about Lau, like if Profar knows how to play the position and isn't like missing balls, which maybe he would, I don't know. So I don't want to get too excited about the idea, but at the very least, Profar can fucking rake, man. He hit last year. He hit. Oswaldo at second. I like Oswaldo, but utility guy. Keep him there. I'd be happy with Yorbit Vivas or Oswald Peraza at second. I don't think they go internal. If they were to, and I don't want them to go this route, but if they were to, I would say, fuck it, give Peraza the job and just see what he does, But I don't think we got to entertain that all that much. Can't understand not bringing Birdie back. Injuries. Injuries would be why he never really got to, get his footing here to maybe get a chance to stay. But he was making like $4 to $5 million this year in arbitration. So I was surprised when they did it, but also like it makes sense to me. I'm not losing sleep over it. Need a leadoff hitter, need defense, need power, need aura, sign Correa. Well, I'm all for Correa action. But at this point, again, the right-handed batter thing, I think we need a lefty. Got a 1K bet on Judge having a better regular season than Soto. Am I good? Oh, of course you are. 100%. I might go in on that with you. If his defense is bad, why not just bring back Glaber? He was a great leadoff hitter. Kind of a similar reason. Now, I don't want to make it seem like they can't go out and get a right-handed bat. I mean, they can. But like with Glaber, I don't know. If we were to look at the offense, I guess, what that would solve is Ward. You get to lead him off, and that would be awesome. And you'd probably, if you were to like, say you got Glaber back, you'd probably lead him off, Bellinger 2, Judge 3, Stanton 4. Maybe you do Wells 5, Goldschmidt 6, or Jazz 5, possibly. Because like the lineup balance becomes a thing. It's not impossible to get in a right-handed bat, but I think this also lessens, like them getting Goldschmidt a righty first baseman, it lessens the chance of Glaber coming back, which probably wasn't all that high to begin with. Would you try Ben Rice at backup catcher? Well, I love that you brought that question up, man, because what I want the Yankees to do is to go into spring training and tell him he has a chance to win the backup catcher job. And how that would work, and this almost, you could argue, complicates it, because if you're a backup catcher, like you got to be a backup catcher. That's really all you're there for. But, dude, like you could you could set a lane for Ben Rice to get like quasi, not everyday playing time, but, consistent playing time, a decent amount of bats, possibly start 3 to 4 times a week by, all right, Goldschmidt's 37. Play him 5 days a week and start Rice against a couple of righties every week. And also, give him a chance to win the backup catcher job, which is what his main role would be, which if so, all right, spells Wells once or twice a week. And when he's not doing that, spells Goldschmidt 1 to 2 times a week. Again, priority would be backup catcher because you got to have him available. But, I mean, it's kind of the same thing if he were on the bench as a backup catcher when he's not playing, or if you have him playing and Goldschmidt on the bench. All right, you need a catcher. Rice goes to catcher. Goldschmidt comes off the bench to play first. So that is something I want these to at least put out there, that Rice could win the backup catcher job. Because if you talk to his defense at catcher his progression at least is talked very highly of. So, dude, that's a very interesting idea to me. Tanner Scott, nah. Yankees don't need to spend money in the bullpen, especially now. Have the Padres stopped talking about Arias trades? I'm not sure, but I mean, I'll be down for him because he is a left-handed bat, and of course he could lead off. Do I think this Yankees lineup is about as good as 09? No, definitely not. Definitely not. The 09 Yankees that's one of the best lineups of all time. But again, it doesn't have to be. The way I would phrase this is we're doing things differently now, and what that means is, best rotation in the league, best bullpen in baseball. Lineup, not as good as it used to be. But again, there's a good chance it's going to be pretty all right. I mean, even if what it is right now, we have one guy projected to be below league average offensively, and that comes from the one slot that it's almost a guarantee the Yankees are going to upgrade, which is second base. Again, I want Brandon Lau. But, yeah, man, to me, all good things. All good things. Stroman for Rengifo? I don't really think so. Not trying to be negative, but these boys going to be striking out like crazy. I mean, we can go through each guy. Bellinger, he does not strike out the way he used to. Not at all. He's actually terrific in this department. He only K'd about 15% of the time the last 2 years, which is fantastic. Judge strikes out a lot. Stanton strikes out a lot. Still have Lau up there, but if we got him, he strikes out a lot. Let me take a look at Goldschmidt, actually. I haven't really reeled in on what his strikeout deal is. I imagine he's like over 20%. 26.5% this past year, so typical for a power hitter. Jazz strikes out a lot, Volpe strikes. So yeah, no, you're not wrong. You are definitely not wrong, but I'll take... Hey, we're also going to be striking a lot of guys out too, but again, the overall production is what matters, and if they pop out or strike out or ground out, to me, outs are outs, for the most part. Going to take a couple more, and then we got to get out of here, but appreciate you guys so much. And real quick, let me get to the giveaway. And I'll timestamp this in case they're not in here actively, but this is from the other day. Let's see. All right, so this is from a while ago, but Jaden P., you win the giveaway. So to claim your Judge shirt, just hit me up on Instagram or Twitter at Dan Allen Rourke. Send me a DM and I'll get it all straightened out. It says, really looking how Cash got us turn this post Soto with the addition of Devin Williams, Max Fried, and hopefully Belly and Horner. Of course, that was a while ago. So Horner did not happen. Bellinger did. And yeah, just overall in the offseason, I'm a very satisfied fan right now. Very. I mean, one, it's just been throwing all these little smorgasbord of moves, but they're good moves. And me and Cashman are chilling. That's all I can really say. So, hell yeah. And again, Jaden P. Was that Jaden P, right? Right. Jaden P _ hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at Dan Allen Rourke. Just send me a DM and we'll get that shipped out within the next couple of days. The team is going to have at least 5 to 6 All-Stars in the All-Star game in 2025. Let's see here. I mean, Cole will be an All-Star as long as he's healthy. Fried, there's a good chance. I mean, it's Cole and then one of the next 2, 3, and everybody has potential to be an All-Star. I mean, Rodon almost was an All-Star last year. So yeah, a couple guys could come out of the rotation. I'm sure at least one reliever or two will come out of the bullpen. And then, Judge will be an All-Star. Good chance Bellinger could be. I mean, there's a couple. So you're right. There's definitely a chance 5 to 6 guys make the All-Star team, which I remember the first year I ever watched, 2011, I think it was 7 guys made the team, which was awesome. And I just thought that was the norm. It was Russell Martin, I think Mark Teixeira, Cano, A-Rod, Jeter, CC, probably Mo. There's 7 guys made the team, and it was yo, word. And then the next year made 2. What are your thoughts on Ben Rice being the backup catcher? Yeah, I talked about that before, Andrew, but it's definitely something I want the Yankees to give him a chance in spring training. chances of landing Roki, it's possible. It's possible. But yo, I think and really quick, somebody said dump DJ and Stroman. Stroman, yes, and obviously, DJ would be on board to do that. There's no world. Like, who would take on DJ? Unless you're like, hey, we'll give you Spencer Jones, just take on DJ's money, which they wouldn't do. But, yo, that is going to do it for this stream. Appreciate you guys so much. As always, we've been having a fucking blast on these streams. And we'll be back, again, probably not Tuesday, like our usual slot, but we'll, breaking news, we'll follow along with that. And I'm sure at some point before the new year, we'll be on. So, as always, appreciate you guys. If you could drop a like on the stream, that does help out a lot. And everybody have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all of that. And, yo, make sure you guys fucking kick it, yo. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm telling myself, too, like, take a load off, put the feet up, do your thing, relax. And then once you do all that, you kind of get excited for the new year and you're ready to reset. So, appreciate you guys. Enjoy the break, or if you get one, I'm not sure. But at the very least, enjoy the holidays. And also, didn't mention this before, definitely got to mention rest in peace of Ricky Henderson, who, one of the greatest players of all time, fastest baseball player of all time, still holds the stolen base record to this day. Definitely regular season, but I just guessing probably for his career too is an easy guess. Former MVP and probably like the most liked dude you'll hear about when it comes to current players, talking about a former player who, now of course has passed and was a Yankee for 5 years, from 85 to 91, 92. And for those who were around back then, outside of Don Mattingly, there really wasn't much to enjoy with those Yankee teams. And Ricky Henderson was one of those dudes that was an exception to that rule, especially in the early 90s. I mean, yo, shout out to the Bronx Zoo on, Amazon Prime, that really, I knew the early 90s were a shit show. I didn't know how much of a shit show they were. And again, Ricky Henderson was one of the bright lights for a dark era in Yankee baseball. But regardless, just his career period with the A's and some other teams as well, one of the greatest of all time. Rest in peace. And yo, on that note, that's going to do it. Appreciate you guys so much. And that's the last time I'll say it. Till next year. Or if we come back sooner. But love you guys so much. Drop a like on the stream. Let's go Yanks. Good shit is coming. Good shit has happened. And I think it's going to be a good year next year. Let's go Yanks. See you guys next time. Let's go Yankees.